Hey Levator Nation, are you interested in aquatics therapy? And are you interested in pediatrics therapy? But are you seriously interested in merging those together as a aquatics pediatrics physical therapy? Ho ho! Well, guess what, you guys? In this special video, I'm interviewing Jessica Rodriguez, who is an aquatics pediatrics physical therapist, and she specializes in this field because she loves working with kiddos and she sees so much benefit in working in the water. Now, really quick, for those of you who don't know, working in the water can have a lot of benefits in physical therapy. For example, a patient might not be ready to put weights on their legs and put full weight there. So the water will help lift them up, help them be more buoyant so they don't have to put so much weight. Also, you have the drag of the water, which is kind of like some resistance. So you can use that as strengthening. And who doesn't love playing in the pool? Especially kiddos, right? So kiddos can definitely play and it's playtime, they love it, but they don't even know they're getting physical therapy. So Jessica's gonna share all of this. This interview is super exciting. I definitely learned a lot, especially about aquatics physical therapy, because I feel like you can't really get too much information about that out on the internet. And for sure, when you're in school, in PT school, you barely cover this subject at all. So I had a great time. I learned a bunch from Jessica, and I hope you do too. So let's just get right into this. Lego. All right. What is up, everyone? In today's video, we have a very special guest. We have Jessica Rodriguez, who is joining us. Jessica, just so you know, Jessica is a aquatics pediatrics physical therapist who has had many years in this field and actually had many years in the specializing in hippotherapy as well. So she has a lot of experience working with different types of patients and working with different types of diagnoses as well. She actually has her own business, which is called Stepping Stones PT, and she's going to talk more about that. And I'm just really excited for her to be on this video today to share you more information about the specialization in aquatics therapy and pediatrics therapy, and even the combination of those two. So Jessica, I'm just going to have you take the floor. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
So I graduated from Cal State Northridge with a kinesiology degree, and then I went on to physical therapy school and earned my master's from Cal State Northridge as well. I graduated in 2010, and now I've been practicing physical therapy for a decade, which is wild. I didn't know about pediatric therapy going into PT school, which to me seems crazy because I just never came across it. And I learned about it when I was in PT school. I really enjoyed my neurology classes and thought maybe I would do adult neuro. But then as I got later into my PT, career, and I took my pediatrics class, fell in love, and then I thought my pediatrics professor was just like the coolest woman on the planet. I started shadowing her, and then I did my last rotation in pediatrics for 4 months, and I was completely sold. So I never looked back.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the one moment when you were maybe doing your pediatrics rotation where you're like, this is a field I really want to get into, where you kind of shifted from neuro to peds?
Well, I did a rotation in ortho, and then I did a rotation in acute, and then my last one was in pediatrics. And I just remember how it made me feel. I just felt like I was making such a big impact, and the appreciation from the parents working with their children, and then really just the mindset of your clients. So like we kind of tease that if you're in acute and you walk into the room, they're like, oh, it's a PT, great. But when you go into your lobby to get your kiddo, they run and they give you a hug and they're like, yeah, let's go do the slide. Let's do the ball pit. I mean, you can't beat that. It's just, they're there to play and you're there to make work feel like play. So it really opens up a lot of creativity. And It works with adults too, though.
It sure does.
But it really just opens up a whole world of creativity and fun, and therapy's so dynamic, and it, like I said, you just disguise the work as play, and that really helps with the kids' ability to learn what you're trying to teach them, and really the enjoyment that they get out of coming to physical therapy and gaining motor skills.
Yeah. What types of characteristics do you think are good for anyone who's trying to be interested in pediatrics therapy? Because I think it's kind of a unique field, you know.
It is. It's not for the faint of heart. I remember I'm a little type A, so I remember I was in my clinical rotation, and I'd go, okay, this kid is working on strengthening their core. Okay, I'm going to write down all these activities I want to do with them. I get there, and the first activity, they're like, nope. So then you're like, okay, plan B. And you just have to be in the moment. Like, you can't, I mean, you're the professional. Like, if your client is refusing to do an activity, you gotta, put on your big boy, hat and figure it out. So, I mean, that part was a very big eye opener, because in adults, you just kind of have your list of activities and your adult is compliant most of the time.
Right, most of the time.
Yeah, the only time you'd really have to modify an activity is if maybe it was too complicated or too challenging, and that's really easy. We're good at that. But if your client flat out refuses to do an activity, it's a little different.
Right. So I know you work as an aquatics therapy. I kind of want to talk a lot about that in today's video. So tell me about how you went from going from pediatrics and how it transitioned into aquatics. Like, this is such a new field. Let's talk about your transition, and then let's talk a little bit more about what aquatics therapy actually is.
Yeah, so I learned about aquatic PT in PT school, and it was just a very short module. It was very interesting to me because I grew up with a swimming pool, and I've always loved the water, and I've always loved swimming. Where I was working when I got out of grad school, I stayed there for 2 years, but they didn't have any opportunities in aquatics, and I just kind of decided, if I'm going to do it, I better do it now. So I found a place with the pool that did adults, and I was a little bummed that they didn't do pediatrics, but I wanted to just go and try to explore that. So I worked there for a little under a year, and I actually developed a pediatric program there for them. So I took my clients that I was seeing on land, we call it on land, and then put them in the pool and started doing some aquatic therapy with them in the pool. And simultaneously, I was working with adults. But I really enjoyed it. It was just such a fun place to be creative. Things that people couldn't do on land, like sit to stand, going up a step, gait training, working on balance activities. The adults felt more comfortable having that, being surrounded by water and having that environment, being weightless, having that proprioceptive input. And then the water really catches you when you lose your balance. So I did a ton of fall prevention and balance training, which was amazing. And a lot of gait training, a lot of strengthening. And we saw people post-op. And then for the pediatric kiddos, I mostly saw kids with neurological conditions in the pool. And I started, like I said, to develop their aquatic program.
What kinds of diagnoses or neurological conditions did you see?
Mostly cerebral palsy and like all different classifications of cerebral palsy. I also worked with kids on the spectrum with autism. And then here in my pool, I've worked with kids that have like microcephaly or static encephalopathy, spinal muscular atrophy, lots of different diagnoses.
Yeah, wow. You got to be really versatile to be able to treat all those types of patients.
Definitely.
Hey guys, really quick, if you're liking this video interview so far, don't forget to smash that like button. And if you have any follow-up questions or comments, please make sure you comment below so I can definitely get back to you on that. And lastly, y'all, if you are liking these specialty physical therapy types of videos, Don't worry, I'm coming out with a lot more because there are so many different types of specialties and subfields in physical therapy. I'm going to explore them all, and I want you to learn all of that too. So if you're interested in all of that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit those notification bells so you don't miss that video when it drops. All right, let's get back to that interview. Tell me a little bit more about how that went from aquatics PT when you first got into that, and then starting your own business. What inspired that transition?
It was mostly to fill a need in the environment and the community. So after I left that community pool in Ventura, I heard that they closed. So after that, I had all the clients that I was seeing in the pool contacting me and asking, where can we go for aquatic therapy? We loved it. Our kid loved working with you. Where can we go? And at that point, I'd already moved to another job with no pools. And I was like, I don't know, but let me Google it for you.
Yeah.
And couldn't find anything, nothing in the county. There's just nothing. And then I kind of thought to myself, well, if I was the last known therapist doing this and nobody's doing it, maybe I should.
Oh.
So so I just had a light bulb moment, and I was, and I went back and forth so many times, like, you're a PT, you know nothing about business. What are you thinking? This is crazy. And I just had to take a leap of faith and like read a lot and talk to a lot of people and read more, ask a lot of questions. And I found out it wasn't that scary. And, as long as you are doing it for the right reasons and you are persistent, you can do it.
Wow, that's very inspirational for someone who wants to potentially open up their own business or clinic. That is, that's great. I love how you mentioned that if you do it for the right reasons, and if patients love you and you build a good relationship, and you put in the work, then you can definitely be successful.
Yeah.
How long has your business been around?
So we have had 4 seasons. So it's a seasonal business. I actually work out of my pool in my backyard, because I found that before I was open, I had a really hard time leasing space. I went around to a lot of community pools and nobody was interested in leasing space. My husband and I had just bought a house that had a pool, and I was like, maybe we should renovate our pool.
Yeah.
And then nobody can say no to me. So as it turns out, the families love being here because a lot of the kids get, multiple therapies a week, and they're in a clinical environment, and they're in school all the time. They're indoors all the time. And it's therapies work. It's a lot of work. So they come here and they think it's a pool party and we're just having fun in the pool. And it's a lot easier to disguise what I'm doing in the therapy and how hard they're actually working. And it's really nice being in our backyard, because it's, nice and quiet and cozy. And at a community pool, you kind of have to dodge other people, share space. It's loud. So it actually worked out pretty well.
That's awesome. I think, like in pediatrics therapy, you really have to kind of disguise, like you mentioned, what you're actually trying to do, and can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, can you give an example of what you're trying to do for a patient, and what does that look like?
So one of the things I love to do on the pool for kids that can do it is monkey crawls. So it's just when they kind of hold on to the side of the wall and use their hands and their feet and crawl across. It's really good for safety, because if they are in a pool and they need to take a break, they can hang onto the wall and they can get themselves back to the step. So what I like to do is we'll go on animal rescues, and I'll hide the little animals along the side of the pool, and the kids will have to climb across. Wow. So that's working on strengthening. It's working on motor planning. It's working on bilateral coordination. And then I can throw in, just like to make it more challenging, but also fun, we'll play red light, green light. So they'll have to freeze. And then that's isometric. So, and then I'll say, like, we'll do Simon Says. So you can just make it as challenging as the child is able to do. So then I'll do Simon Says. So like Simon Says, take 3 steps to the right, or Simon Says, lift up your right leg. So you can do 3-point. you can just get as creative as you want. Just with one single activity, you can make it easy for a beginner, or you can make it really challenging, for a more advanced kid.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Like,
I always thought about pediatrics, just in land, like you mentioned, just like playing with the ball or throwing or whatnot. But, just in the pool, that makes it a whole different environment. And I really think, as a child, you love to be in the pool.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you can get me out.
yeah. So I can only imagine you going through your session and the kiddo doesn't want to leave because they're having so much fun in therapy.
That's pretty much a problem.
It's a problem.
Like, it's the next kid's turn. You gotta go. Yeah. But the other thing I love about the pool is it's really easy to change the challenge. So the more you are out of the water, the more weight you're weight bearing. The more in the water, there's less weight bearing. So you can easily make something harder or easier. So for kids that aren't able to jump on land because they cannot push their entire body weight off, you can start on the lower step and practice jumping there. And as they get better, you can move a step up, practice jumping there. And then the idea is, obviously we don't live in the water. We live on land. So to transition them just to the goal, which the end goal is to be able to jump on land. Wow. So that's super easy. And then the resistance of the water creates, with drag creates resistance. Right. So you can work on kicking. So if you have fins on, that's going to be more drag, more resistance. That's going to be harder to kick in the water with fins versus without fins. Right. And then the speed of your movement will also change the challenge. So if you're doing something quickly, like kicking very fast, big kicks, big splashes, that's more resistance through the water. That's going to be a harder challenge versus slow kicks. So you can change everything so quickly just with the verbal cue. Yeah. And that's a lot harder on land when you're working with weights, working with bands, just thinking about switching them out.
Right.
So, and that's all applicable, obviously, with adults as well. You know, all these activities you can work on with adults.
Wow, I am learning so much, just like you mentioned, aquatics therapy was just like a one class, one module type of thing for us too. And it just was, just swept by. But,
oh yeah, there's this.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's this. Okay, cool. Let's move on. What? But to hear it into application is really amazing, and just how quickly you can change the different types of techniques and transition them from in water to half in water to on land is like, that's really mind-blowing, and that's really cool that you can utilize that type of treatment.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me what a life is like what is one day, like a typical day look like for you as an aquatics pediatric therapist?
So the first thing is safety. So there's a lot of rash guards and sunblock. And staying hydrated, lots of water, lots of snacks, because just being in the water makes you very hungry. I typically just see my clients back to back because I don't want to get out and document when I'm dripping. So I just see all the clients in a row and do all my documenting at the end of the day. Definitely the first thing you do is just get the pool ready, make sure the temperature's ready. And I usually do that early in the morning. And bring out all the different equipment that I need for the day. And then I just stay in the pool, and just my clients, just come to me every 45 minutes. And it's a variety of clients. So for some clients, I'm working on passive range of motion. I'm working on weight bearing. I'm working on pre-swimming skills. It just kind of depends on where my client is physically and then what their parents' goals are. But because I see such a wide range of kids, I could be working on a lot of different things in just the course of a day. I typically see 5 to 6 kids in a row. Anything more than that is physically exhausting.
Yes.
And I'm definitely a prune at the end of the day.
Yeah. What how long is each session?
I do 45-minute sessions. I found that 30 minutes is not long enough. If the kids are running late, or they need to change in the middle of the appointment, or if they need to get out for a reason, then 30 minutes is too short. And an hour was a little bit too long, and I was losing them and they were getting tired. So I found that 45 minutes is like a good amount of time to get just the right amount of therapy in, and I wasn't overdoing it.
Right. And are you doing this full time? Like, this is your business, this is the only thing you're doing, or are you doing other stuff as well?
Yeah, so because it's an outdoor pool, I run seasonally. So I typically run from May through October.
Okay.
And I do work elsewhere. So I work at a pediatric outpatient clinic the
Okay.
whole year. And then I do my business on the weekends. I usually do a big day on Saturday, and then I'll do a half day on Friday.
Wow, you are a busy woman. Sheesh. And just right before this call, I know you're putting your child to bed. So you're a mommy of one. How old is your child? Your baby?
4 months old now.
Oh my gosh, 4 months. Do you do aquatics therapy with your baby as well?
Not yet. He was born in the winter, so we're waiting, waiting for that pool to heat up.
Yes, definitely. That's funny. Um, could you tell me some pros and cons about this field? I think everything you're telling me is great. Aquatics therapy sounds amazing. Obviously, it sounds like it might be a seasonal type of job. I'm sure if you have an indoor pool, it might be kind of a year-long thing.
Mhm.
But every specialty kind of has its pros and its cons. Could you share maybe like 2 or maybe 3 pros or cons for this specific field?
Yeah, for a pro, there really aren't many contraindications, unless there's like an open wound.
Mm,
Um, but like I have kids that have G tubes and different things. So like things that people would think might be a contraindication really aren't. So it's really unless there's like an intense fear of the water, probably not a good client.
right.
But I mean, other than that, like, if it's an ortho person post-op, or if it's someone that had a CVA, I mean, they're really just, and then people that are recovering from like a heart attack, we have the, cardiac therapists as well. Like there really just aren't that many contraindications, because you can easily modify things to fit your client's needs. I think another pro, at least for me, is that I get to be really creative, because obviously you can float, you can go in all different, directions. You can be pretty much. And it really is, and you can work on passive range of motion, active range of motion, like all those different things. And another big pro, at least for me, is a lot of my clients are in wheelchairs, and they can't physically do the things that we're doing on land that we do in the water. So as kids get older, they get heavier. Same with adults who are maybe in wheelchairs with spinal cord injuries, or different like strokes. So you can definitely do things in the water that you just absolutely cannot do on land because of gravity. And you get me, I'm just one person. I could hold up someone who's like 500 pounds in the water, but I couldn't do that on land.
Yeah.
Same with some of the larger kids that I work with. We're working on standing skills and jumping skills, and just the amount and the size of the equipment you would need to do the things that I do in the water on land is just extreme,
Yeah.
So that's super cool. I really don't have a lot of pros, I guess, or cons. I think initially when I started doing this 8 years ago, there just wasn't a lot of con ed. So that was a con for me.
Right.
I had to kind of learn through observation from other therapists. And then I just kind of got in and played and figured it out myself. And now, 8 years later, there is more education.
Yeah.
So I actually went and I got the aquatic physical therapy clinical competency that they have with the APTA. It's a 45-hour course.
Wow.
So and people have asked me, is it worth doing? Yes, if that's like your career. If it's like if you're just doing it on the side, it's a big investment, thousands of dollars, lots of hours. So if it's like really important to you and you're really interested in doing aquatics, yes, absolutely do it. But other than that, there really wasn't a ton of con ed out there. So I think as it gets more popular, there will be more con ed, but that was a little rough initially.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty hefty investment. 45 hours, thousands of dollars for this competency course.
Yeah,
But
but
I'm glad that the APTA really, put something out there for this need. Because I mean,
it's a niche, but I think it's growing in popularity. I'm hearing a lot of ortho clinics are getting like a jacuzzi type or therapy pool to work with our clients. I think it's making a comeback.
Yeah. Well, you're ahead of the curve, or ahead of the wave, I guess, if we're being yeah.
Doing puns.
Yes, thank you. So if students, whether they are pre-physical therapy or current PT students, want to get into this field or are interested at all, what are maybe like 1 or 2 steps that they can take to just get involved or learn about this type of stuff?
So I think shadowing other therapists is probably the most powerful thing you can do. Or even just if you don't have access to shadow a therapist that's doing it, maybe talk to one. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff that I post on my Instagram page, so you can certainly learn, about it, about activities I do, watch videos, and you can get more information that way. But I have mentored probably a dozen students who were pre-physical therapy students, so they were all in undergrad. Over the last 4 seasons. So pretty much all of my interns are now in PT school or are already practicing PTs. Yeah. I know I have a really good success rate. I say that I'm really good at picking interns.
Yeah.
But yeah, just get involved. And after I got involved in aquatic therapy, I actually went and got certified as a Special Olympics swim coach. Wow. So that's something that anyone can do. You don't need to be a physical therapist. They just got lucky that I was.
Right.
But if you're interested in working in pediatrics, go get involved with the Special Olympics. Volunteer, be a coach, work at YMCAs, just get around people. Because I think that your ability to work with people is your strongest asset as a physical therapist. Everyone can go to school and graduate with a degree, but you are working with people like for your entire career. So go work with people.
Yes. I preach this all the time that, we are in a service profession and we need to make connections with people in order to elevate our service. You can have someone who's just highly best skills in the world, but isn't really good with people, and someone who's, might be a new grad or, just learning their skills, but is super personable. That patient or that client's going to want to go to that person who they feel more comfortable with, versus someone who's like, this person's standoff and I don't really connect with this person,
I know it's very important because you can be, like you said, you can be the best student in class, but you get paired with a client and they're like, I don't like your vibe. Which therapist? Like even the best therapists who have the best intentions, like you can't teach personal skills and you can't teach that connection that you build with people. And, we work with people all day long, our coworkers, we have to work with physicians sometimes, orthotists, like it's just a people field. So you can't really avoid people.
Yeah. Just speaking along that topic, I just want to dig a little bit deeper. What do you think would be like 2 or 3 personality traits that would make a really good physical therapist, whether they're in aquatics or just in general?
Well, I think being flexible is important because like we said before, like you can come in with a game plan and that doesn't work. So you cannot be like trying to shove a circle into a square. Like you have to be flexible. I think, like we said, being personable is very important because you have to sell your client on the idea that you know what you're doing and that the exercises or the activities you're giving them is going to be beneficial for them, and you're like a cheerleader for them, and they need to feel like they can trust you because they're coming to you a lot of times when they're most vulnerable. So you need to build a good rapport. That is so important.
So important.
And building that trust. And I think you need to have empathy and compassion because again, the clients that we're working with are looking to you for help and for assistance and to improve their mobility and take them back to their previous level of function. And so as a PT, I went and had ACL surgery and I got to do the whole thing with other PTs. And I mean, it gave me a huge eye-opening perspective of what it's like to be on the other side of that. Right. And I loved my PTs, and I really respected our profession at a different level, just coming in as a client. Definitely hated the mobs. Do not recommend. But I mean, I'm just, it's so having that empathy and that compassion for your clients is so important, and they'll feel that, like they will, because to you, they're, 1 of 10 clients you'll see that day, but to them, this is their life, this is their livelihood, and they need to know that you are, on board with that level, not just, the medical side of it, but just that side of just being compassionate.
Yes. Wow. You spoke so much truth in just that last response. And
Preach.
Yeah, preach. And whoever's listening to this interview, I know that they will gain so much value from what you just shared, not only in, the characteristics of a successful PT, but just in to specialize in this unique field. I think there's definitely a need, and I love that you are just one of the leading PTs that are just kind of riding that wave to just, share with everyone as to how amazing this field can be, and open the opportunities for entrepreneurship and, just having fun while enjoying your profession,
Yeah. And I think that even if PT is not for you, finding what drives you and what gets you out of bed in the morning and gets you excited is so important. You're going to do your career for several decades. So it's really important to find something that you love. And I mean, I can't stress enough that I love my job.
Yeah. Speaking of decade, this just sparked the question for this situation. You've been doing this for a decade now. What is one big lesson that you learned, or what is the one biggest thing that you've just experienced and gained a lot of knowledge from in this decade of working as a physical therapist in all the different fields?
Yeah, so I would say try new things, because I landed my dream job out of grad school and I left it after 2 years, like a crazy person.
Wow.
Because I wanted to learn new things. And that took me to Ride On, where I got to do hippotherapy, and took lots of Con Ed and hippotherapy, and was doing that for 7 years. And it led me to doing aquatic therapy, which then led me to open my own business, which then led me to open a nonprofit. I mean, it is ridiculous. Like, if I just stayed there, none of that would have happened. So you never know what your career is going to turn into, but if you stay in the same job for 40 years, it's not going to go very far.
It's true.
So it was the scariest, craziest thing I ever did, but I would do it again.
That's amazing.
Because you just never know where life is going to take you. And if you told me in PT school, in my business class, that I would start a business, I would say, you're crazy. I remember like our teacher talking to us about what it takes to run a business, and all of us are looking at each other like, who would ever do this?
Right.
This is like, I think they try to scare you, because it's like all the stuff they tell you about insurance billing and liability, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's scary.
Definitely.
So it scared me. So, I thought I was a nut, but as it turns out, I, opened a successful business. My clientele keeps growing. I outgrew my pool, so I had to pivot, and I started a nonprofit here that hasn't opened yet because of COVID, but we're hoping to open soon, just to expand aquatic services to kids with special needs. But I don't think any of that would have happened if I didn't do the craziest thing, which was to try something new.
Wow. I am getting goosebumps just hearing that, because I really, really am a firm believer of just trying new things and just putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe, or I think that a lot of students who are in PT school, they envision, and me included, just envision like, okay, I'm going to have envision this one job, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's it. And just like you mentioned, if you just do that, you're not going to really grow very far, from that position. But just like in your own story, you took leaps, you took jumps, even if you didn't know what the outcome was going to be, you just kind of led with your heart and your gut. And it led you to being so successful and where you are today. And I think that's so amazing.
And I think that my success is measured in the difference I made. So that's kind of something that, you know, and it's all about aquatics for me. So I started my business. Then I actually, once I got my Special Olympics swim coach training, I actually opened up a Special Olympics team locally where we recruited 11 athletes, and I recruited an entire team of coaches that it just wasn't here in our community. And then after that, I realized that not all kids could get on the swim team. It was a limited amount of people that they would take on the swim team. And then there were other kids who maybe weren't able to participate because of their age and, you know, because of their diagnosis. So then I pivoted again and thought, okay, swimming is just, especially in Southern California, something that every child should have access to.
Sure.
So which is why I started this nonprofit where we're doing swim lessons for kids with special needs, and then also group classes so that kids can access the pool year round, since I'm only open half of the year. So you just never know.
Jessica, you provided so much insight today. Thank you so much for your time. Where can students or other PTs or other SPTs contact you, or just, you mentioned your Instagram. Could you share a little bit more of all those platforms?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, and I have two business handles. So at steppingstonespt, and then at Snap with Stepping Stones.
Gotcha. Perfect.
And probably tag those.
Yes. I will definitely put those in the description. And for anyone who feels inspired with this video, I'll definitely make sure you tag Jessica and Stepping Stone as well, so that they can get more just exposure into the world. Because I think your business and your program is amazing. And I'm a true believer of the people who are behind the scenes of the company. And it seems like you have a great heart, and it's just all about the patient, all about the client, and, you know, the success, and, you know, how much you really service them.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I'm so happy that you're doing this for students, because now with, you know, the internet and everything, there's so much more access. And it's nice that you have this platform for students. I think it's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jessica, thank you for your time. Everybody, Stepping Stones PT. This is an amazing company. Please make sure you check them out. Learn more about aquatics therapy, pediatrics therapy, and so much more. But thank you, everyone, for watching this interview with Jessica Rodriguez. And until next time, I'll see you then. Have a great one, you guys.